is Marta.
And I'm Verdell. Shall we begin?
Yes, let's start.
So today we are going to bake some butter tarts.
Ooh, Canadian butter tarts.
It is a very Canadian tradition. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to get the oven ready because we're going to need a preheated oven. I think we should really get started because
Bring our stuff.
Time.
And we're sharing the space here, so what did I start with? Oh, okay. We have like a little bit of pre-prep, not too much. Then at least all the funny things. Oh, yeah, And I have the wheels, so cold.
Marta's a little bit more organized than I am.
I'm just like pretending. It's like, oh yeah, this is like the first fall. That's what always happens.
So the first thing I'm going to start with is my crust because it needs to be prepped before we can actually get into the butter tarts.
Little list. Yay.
So a little backstory, Marta and I, we've been living together since February, and so most definitely when we were looking to shift into a new house, we were on a search for a new roommate, and the ad was very precise, you could say, of what we were looking for. And Marta is actually the only one who responded to it, and the moment I heard we had a call together, and instantly, after 3 words, I was like, I think I said, if it was up to me, you could move in, but you have to meet my roommates first. So we've been through COVID and such, so we are in the same bubble, if you are wondering.
Small little cooking, baking, sauerkraut, sourdough bubble.
I'm actually baking today with, as much as possible, all organics. Ingredients. So this is Anita's organic milled flour, and I believe Marta's using the same.
That's
So I'm starting with a large amount of flour. So I'm doing 5.5 cups of all-purpose flour.
enough a mixture, because I've been sort of trying to measure it, but not like fully. So let's see. So okay, flour, sugar. I'm using a bit of oil, just like so. It is safflower oil. I don't really like the taste. And then I will add my chilled butter.
I grew up with my grandmother buying 5-gallon pails of lard.
Yay.
And so it's a little harder to source and not impossible, but just this morning I really didn't have time to run around and find yard. So I'm using a pastry cutter just to break up all the butter, and the butter should be cool, cold, and the idea is just to have it all broken up into small pieces throughout all of the flour.
I'm actually going for the same stage. This is like, were we like thinking this was supposed to be a competition or just like a friendly game?
So I have my flour, my salt, and rather than using lard, I'm actually using a pound of butter.
And wash my hands again. It needs a lot of love.
That's a really a good point, is that anytime you're baking or cooking, that you should make sure that you're in a really good mood. That we actually want to put the energy of love and appreciation for the food that we're about to eat into what we're making. It's really important.
Yeah, that's my home cooking. That's so good. Well, afternoon. So, yeah.
Here at the house, we actually use a Berkey, so we're purifying, filtering all our water. So if you see any of us coming over to this side, it's just that we're getting our filtered water.
This awesome Berkey.
And it's based on using charcoal filters, and it's really amazing. So I'm just making my ice water for my pastry dough.
I'm like spilling everything all around.
So you'll now see the consistency. There's still a few little chunks of butter, and that's exactly how it's supposed to be, just so it's broken up and distributed.
The whole thing, but let's see.
So I'm really fortunate. I have chickens, and I get to use my chickens' eggs, and so they're really my pets.
I like singing.
And
But no, I can't.
they're beautiful, beautiful yellow.
The supplies. And I really measuring things.
I only measure things really when it's fluid. If it's dry goods, I'm really loose with the measurements. Not so concerned with it.
Is this how your grandma was doing it?
Yeah.
I got fresh butter. Maybe I should add some salt. Okay, so sort of melted butter. And you don't drink anything? Regular?
No, I'm focused. There's no room.
Like,
So I'm using organic like brown sugar, and it's calling for a cup of packed brown sugar. So I'm just going to put that in my bowl. There we go. And 3/4. So I'm using a cup of raisins, and my grandmother had a little trick. And the trick is to add a little bit of hot water to them so that, specifically when they're really dried and shriveled, it will plump them up.
let's just mix it all together. And what again? I don't think this like to the time. Brown sugar, melted butter, 2 eggs. Oh, and now I'm adding a bit of lemon zest. Lemon zest. Lemon zest. I love the smell of fresh lemon. Ooh, nice. So how would you call your butter tarts? It's raisin and what else?
I love raisin butter tarts. By far my favorite. If you bake with any nuts, I will not touch it. And that
I'm
has,
just like waiting what you're going to say.
and that has been since I was a child. So it didn't matter if it was my favorite fudge that my grandmother made. If it had nuts in it, I would not touch it. So I'm using a different type of zester.
I like the big thing. And you're fast.
And I did wash my lemon, my rind before, so just making sure. Organic lemon. I'm using
In Poland, because that's my background, I'm Polish, it would be rather walnuts. Walnuts are like huge, so any small bakes like that. Get the colorful walnuts. And I'm actually adding to my mix cinnamon and fresh milk as well. And let's see what happened. So cinnamon.
So I'm just gonna add melted butter.
Now, put some awesome texture. What else? Oh, my lime juice. Wash my hands.
My recipe calls for a tiny little bit of milk, and I don't have milk, so I'm just going to put a little bit of the yogurt into it.
Wow. What recipe are you using?
I'm actually not using a standard recipe. What I typically do is I look at anywhere between 3 and 5 recipes.
Oh, you mix and you choose the best
And then I
part?
choose what I want.
Yeah, I love that.
So I'm just going to add a little bit, and again I'm using organic plain yogurt. It's really interesting. Normally, if I'm baking for myself and not having other people test it, I'm a finger licker. And so because of COVID and I'm filming, I'm really watching my urge to lick my fingers or the spoons.
Ooh.
I'm adding the raisins to my brown sugar flour.
Nice.
Tart isn't a tart unless it has raisins in my mind.
No raisins in mine. Wow, I don't know. I love this orange thing. How do you call it?
It's probably referred to as a pastry scraper, this one. This is the spatula.
Yeah, scraper.
And you'll notice I'm a fan of cleaning up as I go, so I keep cleaning my station.
On top as well.
You'll also notice that I like to have some type of a plate or a bowl where I put all my utensils, so I'm trying to keep the mess in one location. But that might be because I'm a little OCD. So now that I have my filling prepared, I'm just going to put it over here. And I'm going to clean my workspace because in a minute I should start prepping the dough in order to fit into my muffin tins. And we are using what we call a kitchen surface spray.
That's Verdel's invention, which I love.
So we're using glass bottles, and it's filtered water, a little bit of rubbing alcohol, a little bit of Bronner's soap, and a couple drops of lemongrass essential oil. And so this is just what the whole house uses throughout all our spaces. So we keep the count. And so it might take a little bit longer. We're still waiting for our oven to come up to temperature, and we're still waiting on our dough to actually chill. Oh, it's nice and low in the house. So I'm just retrieving my dough, and one thing that's really important is that my surface area is prepped. So you watched me clean it earlier, and I haven't said anything on it since. And I just want to make sure that it's dry. There's nothing worse than putting dough on a wet surface. So I'm going to use a little bit of extra flour to flour my surface. And I'm just going to use one ball of dough right now to roll out, and I'm going to actually put the other one back in the fridge while I wait. So I'm just going to sprinkle some flour onto the surface. My parents' friends knew that I loved butter tarts, so often they would drop off butter tarts. And I had been away for a while, and so our friend Janice had brought think a total of 24, and I sat down and ate 12 of them all at once. And what was crazy, at the end of eating 12 of them, I could have continued, but logic kicked in and was like, maybe I don't need to eat them all.
Was it the same size like those?
No, they were more the smaller ones.
I still 12. It's like, so you need like 12 of these.
Yes. So you'll notice that Marta and I are using different sized pans.
She went for the big one.
I'm going for the huge butter tarts because I can't explain how much I love butter tarts. It's an understatement. Once as a child, I ate 12 of them all at once. So I've prepped all my tins, and I'm not sure that I'm going to use them all, but at least they are ready.
My approach. Finish the start. And actually I can be doing it here. Da-da-da, the first one.
Rolled dough out in a very long time. The last time I rolled dough out was 2 years ago.
Seriously?
In a mountaineering camp.
Was it 2 years ago? I thought you did it last year as well, no?
Last year I didn't make the pies.
Ah,
The
okay.
year before I made the pies.
Okay.
We take turns.
So you have like a menu that's like confirmed in advance?
Yeah, so in the summer times, this is the first summer it's been cancelled due to COVID, I cook for the Alpine Club of Canada for their General Mountaineering Camp, and I've worked for them for over 11 years now, and it's a set menu. It's been pretty much the same menu for the last 100 and some years. With
No way.
Some twists.
Seriously?
Yeah. The younger cooks coming in
Wow.
are definitely wanting to modernize it and change it a little bit. And so over the years we've done small modifications to it.
No, but like seriously, over 100 years?
It's been running for over 100 years, yes.
And the menu as well is
Pretty much.
Oh my gosh.
So you see me picking up the dough and just re-flouring the surface, because there's nothing worse than dough that sticks to your surface.
I think now you can see a completely different technique. What should we call it? Like mine. In the way it's like sticking. Okay, let's just move on the third one. Wow. I need more.
It's a funny story is that I actually don't like pastry. So the thinner the dough, the better.
Little disclosure.
Yes, I'm very particular.
This was major like. So we'll have to. Ooh, almost.
I'm gonna start with this bowl and see. I'm gonna do a tester, and it might not be big enough. It doesn't really have a sharp enough edge, so I might have to get a knife and cut around it. It's almost. Almost. So I'm just gonna have to modify it just a little bit to make it work. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. So I just have to roll out. Once I cut, I must roll out every one. I'm gonna steal your knife. Oops.
Just have to grab something quickly.
What's really nice about cooking or baking is that I'm not thinking of anything else while I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So it is a great, healthy distraction
It's like
from
meditation, right?
what's going on in the world and maybe what we're stressing about. And I have a zillion things I should be doing, but instead I'm baking butter tarts. So here's an example of my tray of 6. So you can see I finished rolling out the remainder of my dough. I've made more filling, and now I have more filling than I have dough. So what I'm going to do with it afterwards is actually I'm going to put the remainder, whatever filling I don't use, into a glass jar and actually freeze it for the next time that I make butter tarts. Our oven, we have decreased down to 350 after 10 minutes at 450, and we've rotated all of our tins and shuffled whatever was on the bottom is now on the top, and it's in at 350 for 20 minutes. In the meantime, I'm just going to fill these, and it's quite amazing to actually peek into the oven and see how full and almost overflowing they are.
Mm-hmm. But not overflowing, which is great. We're lucky. I'm lucky.
Mm. I can't wait. So we only have about probably 7 to 8 minutes before we pull them out.
I think though. They look like sunflowers.
Mm-hmm. And again,
I love small.
they're beautiful. Beautiful. So I need to bring the oven back up.
And they are not overflowing. Love it. All for your last.
For my last one.
Awesome.
So I have one more to go in. I decided not to do them all just for timing. And so they're beautiful. What we're going to do is we'll let them cool. And then once they cool enough, we can actually take a knife really gently and go around so they don't stick to the pan, and then pull them out. And it's too bad we actually don't have more cooling racks. So these are perfect because what's happening is there's still a lot of heat in the tin, and it continues to bake the tart as it sits here. So the sooner that they kind of cool and we can get them out to air dry, the better. So shall we let them cool, and then the next time we come back on, we will be taste testing
That's
them.
the plan. Eating soon.
So I hope you've enjoyed our little program so far, and there'll be more. We'll continue to have taste testing. So